Okay, I happened to flip on the ESPN morning TV shows, the talking head shows, and all the same people that were ignoring the Vikings for 3 months, and
Yes.
then 2 weeks ago, okay, I guess we have to talk about the Vikings. We need to see them do something. They're all picking the Vikings to beat the Lions on Sunday now.
Well, that's are the Lions still 2.5 or something like that? They
Two and a
still
half or
favored
three,
two and a
depending
half.
on the book.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's a tough one to. I mean, I like the Vikings too because I think they'll score 35. You only have to hold Detroit to, under 30 to win the game because of the way their defense is playing. So I kind of like the Vikings to win. How about our guy Stephen A. the other day though? Stephen A. coming on and boastfully saying that Darnold hadn't passed for 300 yards since November 24th. This was 2 days after he'd passed for 370 or something, and
Yeah.
so I would imagine some researcher that gave him some information is probably going to get fired because Stephen A. isn't going to take credit for being a moron. So how does that happen?
Also, it's like people act like everyone's throwing for 300. Joe Burrow is about the only guy throwing for 300 yards every week this year.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's not, there's a good game now is, 240, 260, that when you complete 70% of your passes, the big, huge, the 400-yard games are a rarity. Last guy to have a really big, huge yardage game was Kirk Cousins, who was, 3 weeks later was in the tank and getting benched. So didn't Kirk have
He had
five TDs and
500.
Yeah,
500 yards?
Prime
What kind
time.
of a what
in
a
Super Bowl.
that's an interesting season, isn't it? You pass for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, and a month later you're benched. It's
All the
pretty
reports are
incredible.
that he has been a great mentor behind the scenes for Michael Penix. He's
Oh,
answering
give
every
me a
question.
kiss, my large fat. I'm not going to go any further.
Yeah.
He's pouting like a baby. I can guarantee you,
He
he's pouting like a baby.
I
And
saw
if he is trying to help out Penix, it's not sincere at all. It's phony. So I don't. He's a fraud. I think he's a fraud. I don't know. I didn't. Now I got to tell you, I didn't watch the Netflix series because I couldn't stand to see him honored like that. But everybody left that saying, "Oh, what a nice guy, wonderful guy." Well, he likes his wife and kids. Congratulations. Okay,
It's true.
I saw a
Yeah.
picture though. Kirk is still. It looks like during games as the backup, wearing his helmet on the sideline, like he did during Vikings preseason games. But we all said, well, that's so he can just hear the calls because he's going to be starting.
Mhm.
Why are you wearing your helmet now, dude? You're probably not going to start ever again. Don't worry
Yes.
about it. Put a
Yeah.
baseball hat on.
Anyway, but yeah, the bike Sunday. How many times have we had the opportunity to have in the modern era with the a regular season game on Sunday night? That means, I mean, we've had those games that whoever wins it gets the seventh playoff spot or something, the
Yeah.
sixth playoff spot. But how many times have you had two teams trying to decide whether they have an easy road to the Super Bowl or a horrible road to the Super Bowl? So
Yeah. The other
that's
crazy thing is if in the old, because what is this, like the third or fourth year of the
yes,
seventh team getting in?
yes,
That the the two wild card teams at the bottom are the Commanders and the Packers, who are both 11-5. That if they
yes,
both win, we'd have two 12-win teams. One of them would not be a playoff team under the old format a few years ago.
yeah, that is true. And the other thing is, but you'd also have who would Philadelphia would be sitting in Clover, right? Knowing they were a home team, they were going to be they were going to
They'd
the
have a
first
bye.
round. They were going to have a bye too. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you think we're to the what are they going to try to make all eight of them play? In the first week. You think they're going to keep giving a bye to somebody because it is kind of a nice promotional thing to be fighting for a bye, but to add 2 more games to Apple or something. I wouldn't
Next
trust
TV
them.
contract, they'll change it.
Yes, next TV contract to get 2 more playoff games in there, and of course we could end up with more teams too, because if you're gonna get an NFL expansion team, what do you get? 12 billion, maybe 12 billion. You got to pay for it, something like that. So yeah, but yeah, it's I'd like to know what the TV rating is going to be in Minnesota on Sunday night.
Oh
About
my
80,
gosh.
80
Yeah,
percent, 80%,
Care's
maybe.
going to do pretty well. Let's just say
Yes,
that. I bet the ad
yeah.
rates aren't bad for those local ads.
No, I see that they're bragging about the Amazon Thursday night games being up 13% or something like that too.
14 million average viewers
Unbelievable.
for this. In case you're wondering, are people going to be able to find these games? Yes, they found Amazon Prime. Yes.
What is amazing about the NFL is now it's, some of it's obviously gambling, but I don't buy the fantasy football gambling angle. How they watch, you know, they have a miserable audience for them would be 7 million watching 2 rotten teams play with a meaningless game this weekend, wouldn't it? I mean, they still get everybody to watch. It's
Well,
incredible.
how many people do we know? How many people watch the meaningless 49ers Lions Monday night game? Which, like, the Niners are
Football.
out and the Lions had nothing to play
Yeah.
for.
Oh, I bet the numbers were big because I bet you Campbell is big TV, don't you? The PC and him stomping around on the sidelines and acting
He
like a
is entertaining.
lunatic.
Yeah.
And he was the only guy that in the NFL that would have played that game the way he did, right?
They
Nobody
ran
else
a
would have.
hook and lateral for like a 50-yard touchdown in
Yeah,
a
but
meaningless game.
he's got one running back left that he
Yeah.
gave him the ball 35 times between passes and runs. He's the only coach crazy enough to do that. I mean, Andy Reid has his bench. Mahomes isn't going to play for them because it's a meaningless game, and that's
Saquon.
tough. That's yeah.
Yeah,
Saquon's
Saquon's
not
not
going
going
to
to
try
chase
to
the
wreck.
record.
Although 16 games to 17 games, sorry, you don't set the record in my world. So.
Well, don't forget, though, Dickerson set the record in 16 games when
Yes.
OJ set it in 14
14,
games,
yes,
which is
I
the
know
most
that.
incredible, but we don't like
Yes,
talk about.
we
Didn't
don't
Jim
like.
Brown have the
Jews.
12-game record if we go all the
Yes,
way back?
yeah,
Okay.
right.
He should,
So
he's rolling in his
it's always
grave right now.
Yes.
No, I think he's still alive.
Jim Brown?
I think
Ooh,
he's
let's
still
do a
alive.
dead or alive check.
No, he
Oh,
I think
passed
he
away a
died.
couple of years.
he's
Oh, he
couple of
died.
years
Okay.
ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
he died
told
a
you guys
year
about
and a
my
half ago.
interview with Jim Brown, my radio interview. He
Huh.
was. They were having a documentary on him about him growing up in this little island down in off Georgia coast that was all basically slaves ended up there, and he was. They were having this documentary, and they were pitching me to write a column on it, and I said, "Oh yeah, get him on the phone for me. I'll write it." And didn't and finally he was supposed to call me on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He didn't call me. Finally Thursday morning, I called him and said, I need it today, for because I'm writing it for the weekend. I need him today, otherwise it's off. 10 o'clock at night, the phone rings. Hour and a half I was on the phone with him. It was
Wow.
one of the great interviews of my life, but you had to be patient waiting for him to call you.
Wow.
But he was great. He was fantastic. God, it was probably what him and Willie Mays in the Alive in the Suite in San Francisco were probably my 2 favorite all-time interviews. So
Man, yeah.
he was fantastic. But,
Legendary. I saw too. So that Boise State running back was trying to break Barry Sanders' record, but then they
yes,
showed a similar graphic where it was like Barry Sanders did
10
it
games.
in I think it was 11 games,
Yeah, probably a 10-game regular season and one
and then one bowl game.
bowl game,
And this dude
something
was
like
about
that.
to be, if they won, they were going to play their 15th game to break the record or something.
That's
So,
right. Hey, how about those Irish, man? I think it probably helped that Georgia didn't have their starting quarterback, but
yeah.
they got the short end of the officiating the first half, I thought, and that kind of put them in a bad situation. And after that, they're it's hard to watch them and remember that they lost to Northern Illinois, but at
Yeah.
home. Like was that wasn't the season opener though, was it? That was
It
the
was
second
like
game of the season.
week 2 or 3. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. It's one of the worst losses
but
in Notre Dame history.
everybody says if they'd lost the second game anywhere, they wouldn't have made the playoff because there's this prejudice against them because they won't join a conference. So, but they got some athletes, man. They got and I always like to see Kirby Smart get beat. I like them to beat Penn State. And I think it's going to be Notre Dame, Ohio State. That wouldn't be bad for TV ratings, would it?
That would be about as well as you can concoct a matchup. And then Ohio State looks like the best team in the country. When
Yes.
they're not playing Michigan, Ryan Day
Yes.
is a great
Incredible.
coach,
It's
and they're the
incredible.
best team in the country. Yeah, it's crazy.
Is the stat? Is this the stat with Ryan Day? He's lost one Big Ten game that's not Michigan. Isn't that what I read?
And
Yeah, I think that's
it's
right.
to Oregon, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's right. I will say I watched them play Oregon in the regular season. Watched quite a bit of that, and I thought they were a better team. But Oregon just got a few breaks at the end and pulled it out. But they manhandled them to say the least. They got some. I don't know the NIL charge for Jeremiah Smith, and is going to be rather lofty, don't you think?
Yeah.
The bidding probably starts at about 10 million to bring him
See,
back for another
this is
year.
part of the reason too. Like NIL, Georgia is still awesome, but you can't stockpile 60 NFL players
No.
on your team anymore because if
No.
there's a backup for more than about a season, he's going to go take $750,000 to go play somewhere.
I've spent the last day or so trying to talk to people and figure out this JUCO thing. You know, this junior college that the Kills quarterback at Vanderbilt, went to court saying his junior college years shouldn't count, and he won. So he's coming back and to Vanderbilt. They gave him $1 million to come back in the NIL, but it's now apparently junior college guys don't have to count their first 2 years in junior college. They can
Yeah.
they and but looking at it, I was thinking, you know, it only covers at this point. It only covers Division I, which doesn't have nearly as many JUCOs as other colleges. But it's and then I was trying to figure out this settlement, this 21 million that each team's going to spend. That's what they call them Power Five teams, although the Pacific Coast League isn't exactly the Pacific. The Pac-10 is gone. That made this settlement, the 21 million that they got to pay each year to athletes. Well, 75% of that goes to football and 20% to basketball, and 5% to other. That seems like a Title IX lawsuit waiting to happen, doesn't it? So where are we going
The
here? It's
JUCO thing is
incredible.
kind of genius. Like it, because if you went and just dominated JUCO for a year,
Yeah.
let's say you were even overqualified, your value would be so much higher than sitting as a backup.
Yes.
And so could you get a $500,000, $1 million check? And then some of like this Vanderbilt kid, I don't know if he's an NFL guy or not, but if you can make $1 million dominating for like Vanderbilt, you damn well better go to court and see if you can get another year or two out of that. Otherwise, you're going to make $60,000
Oh,
in
yeah.
the
He won't
XFL.
He's built like me. He won't make the NFL. He's a short, fat guy.
Right.
You know, he's very creative, but he's got zero chance to play in the NFL. He couldn't, you know, if if there's a minor football league somewhere in the country, he'd end up playing there. But he's very valuable to mighty Vanderbilt. So
Like it's like the Arizona State running back, that's Scadaboo, who I don't know if you guys
that's
watch.
right.
He's deemed himself the
building.
best running back in college football. He has zero breakaway speed, but he can throw it 60 yards. He can catch passes.
And he can run right through your chest too, man. He just puts it. He's crazier than a hoot owl. But yeah, it is wild out there right now. And you're making the point. There's 1,000 college players that are making more money than they'd ever make turning pro. They're not
or getting a
they're
real
making a
job
team.
because they
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. Speaking of wild, let me throw in my hatred of this. 96 threes launched last night at Target Center in an NBA game. 96 threes. This is not basketball, ladies and gentlemen. This is something, but it's not basketball. It's people talk about analytics ruining baseball. It's analytics. Everybody, somebody waking up once about 12 years ago and saying, if you make a 2-point shot, that's worth 50% less than if you make a 3-point shot. So it's Boston is ridiculous. The 57 of them. Did you guys watch the game?
yeah.
I
Oh
was.
yeah.
I was. Were
What's
you?
crazy, Pat, is the Wolves. If you would have said the only thing I'm going to tell you about the game is the Wolves are going to go 21 of 39 on
Yes.
3-point attempts, you'd say,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they probably win that game.
Well,
No,
you'd think that.
Boston hits 22 of them.
Yeah, out of 57.
Yeah,
But the thing is, okay, we went 22 out of 39. It proves we didn't shoot enough threes. We should have shot 10 more threes. We would have
yeah.
won the game.
See how many free throws Boston shot? Not because they got screwed by the officiating, because they don't care.
They never
They
go to
shot
the
6
basket.
free throws.
You kidding me? I didn't know
6
that.
free throws. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. Ant's quotes were very interesting. Ant's feeling sorry for himself, the way it sounds, doesn't it? He's getting double teamed all the time, and
He
Yeah.
definitely is.
Those quotes were.
he's feeling sorry for
Yeah, I saw
himself.
his post
So,
game. Yeah.
He's
yeah.
acting like he's the first star player in NBA history to face a
Yes.
double team on a
Yes.
regular basis.
Yeah. He doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't know how to handle it. That's for sure.
What's the answer though? Like you can't just be well. He's being doubled, so he's screwed. Like, what's the answer?
Well, part of it is he's playing a lot of minutes with guys who can't do anything offensively. I mean, I'm telling you, when they started putting Julius Randle with the 4 bench players, it unlocked a whole. Randle is awesome,
Yes.
and that 5-man unit is awesome. And they've yet to really do the same thing. I mean, Ant hasn't made a shot in 2 months, but
Yes.
he's out there with Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert, and Mike Conley a
Yes.
lot, and those guys are doing
They can't
nothing
shoot.
offensively.
No.
Yeah.
No, and then he's out there, and when Randall's out there with him, Randall's got the ball way more than Cat or anybody else did when he played with him. But they have not. You're right. The second unit with now that DiVincenzo's making shots is good. Get mine out. I don't know. Get Minot out there with Ant. Some and get McDaniels on the bench for God's sakes. He can't make a shot to save his life.
Minot kind of
Although
feels
he had
like
a
he's
good
emerging into a much less expensive version of Jaden McDaniels.
Yes, yes. I would dump Jaden if I could, but I don't. Is there going to be a market for a guy making that much money who can't score? Although
Maybe
he
you
did.
could, Pat.
and
Maybe you
it-
can give him a ride to the airport in a car of your
That's
choice.
right.
Huh?
Well, what I'm plugging right now for Valley Group of GM dealers in Apple Valley in Hastings, there's the we got the video going here. Fantastic vehicles, but these Encore SUVs, the smaller SUV. I got a granddaughter turning 16. She's a hockey player. There's a lot of people like that right now. The kid that's going into their sophomore year, turning 16, they want their own vehicle. These Encores, the price are fantastic. They got the room in the back where you can put all your equipment. And the right now, interest rate at Jim Paul and Brett Paul's Valley Group of GM dealers, Apple Valley and Hastings, 0.9, 1.9, 0 on some vehicles. Stock, last time I looked a couple of days ago, 183 vehicles ready to be sold right now. And, that's off the showroom. They can obviously order you stuff too. But I'm plugging the Encore right now. Buy the kid, even if you're going to get it for graduation, okay, the kid should have already had his own car by the time he's 18. But anyway, if it hasn't happened, the stock for the Buick Encores is fabulous out there. Jim Paul and Brett Paul Valley Group of GM dealers.
Amen. Any final thoughts for the road here this weekend, Pat?
Uh, I,
Is
boy,
PJ going to keep his undefeated bowl streak alive?
I think the fact that Virginia Tech is missing 26 transfers, as well as the what is starters, they got two all conference tackles who didn't play, defensive tackles, and I don't know, they were reading a litany. I would say PJ might beat them 38-7 or something like that.
Wow, let's go.
Virginia Tech is terrible, and but we'll get to see him covered in mayonnaise, and that'll be wonderful.
God.
You guys pay attention to that for me, will you? If I see more than 3 minutes, I'll be very shocked.
I mean, it is prime time. It's prime time tonight. What, 6:30? Is that Eastern time? I don't know. It's tonight on ESPN.
Is it the only night bowl
Skyma.
game? Is it? They'll probably get a 3 share if it's the only night.
It
bowl
is.
game.
It's the only bowl game. It does follow. You get a nice lead in though with the North Texas versus Texas State game. That's the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, and then the Duke's Mayo Bowl. It's a big night of college football action on ESPN.
Well, I have to call my friend Phil Rogers from Chicago, the old ball writer. Ask him if he's nervous about the Mean Green. He's a Mean Green graduate. Gets very excited about North Texas football. He's the one, that does that. So, anyway,
Didn't know Phil was a North Texas guy.
Mean Greener, Mean Greener, and I'm sure the educational load back then was very difficult down there. Texas State is. Now that isn't John Randall's old school, is it? He was East Texas, and they became
Texas
something
A&I
else.
or something, right?
Texas A&I, but I'm wondering if this might be Texas, because Texas A&I doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Correct.
So this could be John Randall's alma mater. I'm not sure though.
Yeah. So strap in for a big night of Texas directional schools and the
Hey,
Gophers.
The big game of the week is North Dakota State and Montana State on Monday in the FCS title game. Here's an interesting thing. Trey Lance might get a start this week finally for Dallas. And his brother, Bryce, plays for North Dakota State.
Yeah.
And they're playing at Toyota Stadium in Frisco. That's where the game is, the soccer stadium. And the Cowboys complex is 4 miles away with their stadium there in Frisco. So could be a big week for the Lance brothers this weekend. So.
It could be. All right, Pat. Enjoy your football weekend, and we'll talk next week.
All right. See you guys.
There he is. Reusse Unchained, presented by Josh Arnold.